Influencers can have the power to change opinions, maybe even sway elections, says internet personality Maria Comstock. The statement encapsulates the power of social media in today's day and age. As the 2024 U.S. elections approach, the Biden administration has integrated TikTok into its campaign strategy. Meanwhile, Donald Trump, who previously attempted to ban the social media platform in the U.S. during his presidency, has recently created his own account, gaining nearly 5 million followers within 24 hours. Also, a recent Fox News survey showed that there was a 3-point shift in the presidential race. Last month, Trump was leading by 1 point, but now Biden is ahead by 2 points, with a score of 50% to 48%. The two presidential candidates have been neck and neck lately as the presidential debate continues to be talked about. Will these numbers change as social media continues to play a part in this year's elections? Today, we'll explore the impact of social media in the ever-evolving landscape of presidential campaigns and more. Campaigning has always involved long speeches, door-to-door visits, and newspaper headlines. But as the world evolves into a digital age, the fight for votes and information dissemination has now expanded to social media, hoping to engage young voters. Whether it be promoting their own campaign or roasting the opposing party, it is evident that both presidential candidates are active on social media. Just look at their Instagram these past weeks. Though there are still months until the U.S. presidential election in 2024, social media is packed with political activity. Sprout social listening data shows that from January 1st to March 6th, there were around 7.6 million talks regarding the election, resulting in nearly 45 million engagements and over 103 billion impressions on social media. Onclusive, a PR and communications firm, reported over 3.36 million mentions of U.S. elections, Republicans, and Democrats on social media in the first quarter of 2024, marking a 13% rise from the previous quarter. Overall, discussions about candidates from all parties totaled 10.1 million mentions. Notably, Democrats had more mentions than Republicans in late 2023, driven by key events like Super Tuesday, Supreme Court decisions, the State of the Union address, and border tensions. Social media has become a key way for candidates to campaign, moving away from traditional methods. As we approach November and the 2024 presidential election, its impact is a major topic of discussion. Dr. Amy Becker, a communications professor at Loyola University, says, "I think the election is of added importance given recent threats to democracy and increasing distrust of politicians and the media. I think we are seeing a real choice between democratic norms and autocracy around the globe." At a crucial time during this election season, social media lets candidates share information and campaign directly to voters, also serving as a key news source for the public. In a season where news and information is crucial, where we obtain said data is equally important. As of November of last year, Americans were consuming a large amount of media online, with social media being a major contributor. Nowadays, half of adult Americans acquire their news through social media on a semi-regular basis. 3 out of 10 American adults routinely obtain their news from Facebook, making it the most popular social media platform, all according to the Pew Research Center. The data shows that YouTube follows with 26%, while smaller numbers get news from Instagram with 16%, TikTok at 14%, X at 12%, and Reddit at 8%. Even fewer rely on Nextdoor, LinkedIn, Snapchat, WhatsApp, or Twitch for their news. And it's not just in the US. Digital marketing specialist Gweno Jones argues that political parties all over the world are embracing social media to reach individuals of all ages. She says, "On average, we spend 1 to 2 hours a day online, so there is an opportunity to reach people frequently throughout the day in a way that's very familiar to them. You have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, and the reason the parties, use so many is that each one attracts an audience that's slightly different. TikTok for younger people, and Facebook for people a bit older." With more than 80% of the population of the UK on social media, she believes they are able to use them to reach a majority of people. Additionally, transparency and trust in the media are crucial, especially when sharing important information. According to American multinational analytics and advisory company Gallup, only 36% of Americans trust mainstream news sources like cable news and print media. Trust is even lower among Republicans, with just 11% expressing confidence in the media, compared to 31% of independents. This highlights significant distrust in traditional media. Social media also complicates the issue of trustworthiness. The Pew Research Center finds that Americans under 30 almost as much trust social media news sources as they do traditional media sources. Just 56% of 18 to 29-year-olds believe in national news, and 62% believe in local news, with around half of them placing more trust in social media sources. But as the reach of candidates broadens with the use of social media, the effects of its utilization is not always positive. Experts at a 2021 Harvard Law School discussion agreed that social media's model of personalized virality clashes with democratic principles. They argued that social media isn't just a future threat to democracy, but has already caused significant harm. Harvard Law professor Lawrence Lessig opened the session by reflecting on the drastic changes in the internet climate since its early, optimistic days. Stanford Law professor Nate Persily added that Google and Facebook now hold more power over information than any institution since the pre-Reformation Catholic Church. Their algorithms and content moderation policies act like laws, shaping the information landscape. He argued that social media, especially Facebook and Google, has worsened political dialogue, fueling polarization and contributing to the decline of traditional media. Tristan Harris, co-founder and president of the Center for Humane Technology, highlighted social media's role in politics during the event, stating, "You have to appeal to the Facebook algorithm to get elected. You have to appeal to the algorithm to get attention. The algorithm has primacy over media, over news, over newspaper publishers, over each of us, and it controls what we do." In relation to democracy, he said, "If the algorithm is rewarding the worst instincts of our nature and the most divisive fault line in society, and you run society through that for 10 years, it is no surprise that you don't just get a broken, fragmented society, but one that cannot make democratic decisions in the face of more crises." This trend, Harris argued, ultimately pushes society towards authoritarianism. Tech companies are grappling with significant challenges amid widespread distrust in elections and the information shared on social media. Politicians and those who support them run a significant risk of using social media by disseminating false information. Recent polls reveal that skepticism about the legitimacy of Joe Biden's presidency has increased, with over 1/3 of Americans expressing doubts. This skepticism has been amplified by persistent misinformation operations that have been mostly disseminated by Donald Trump and his allies on right-wing and mainstream social media platforms, which have further damaged confidence in election procedures. The internet has become a hotspot for false information and propaganda, quickly spreading across social media, messaging apps, and online forums. Social media platforms aimed at boosting user engagement struggle to control misinformation, often prioritizing entertaining or controversial content over truth. This rapid spread of false information poses a serious threat to election integrity, as misleading narratives can swiftly shape public opinion. However, certain companies, such as Meta and YouTube, have changed their guidelines to allow false material around the 2020 election. Others, still in their early stages, are in the process of developing guidelines for political content as they expand. On the other hand, under investigation by the U.S. government, TikTok has opted to prioritize entertainment over political content. Smaller networks like Telegram and Trump's Truth Social purposefully do not moderate content, which lets rumors proliferate and move to more popular networks. One of the most troubling forms of misinformation today is the spread of deepfake videos, which use advanced AI to manipulate audio and video to create highly realistic but fake content. Deepfakes can deceive voters by depicting candidates in compromising situations, damaging their credibility and reputation. For example, in January, voters in New Hampshire received automated calls with a voice that sounded like President Joe Biden's, urging them not to vote in the state's primary election. However, the voice was generated by AI, not Biden himself. Similarly, AI-generated images have surfaced depicting Trump being arrested. Concerns regarding the influence of disinformation on elections have increased due to the growing number of this type of AI manipulation, particularly with 2024 drawing near as a crucial year for democracy. Thanks to artificial intelligence, the widespread impact of social media, and the vast reach of the internet, Political figures are used in digital tools to connect with voters, shape stories, and sometimes distort perceptions, just like the deep fake event earlier this year. But it's not all bad with fabricated calls and pictures. AI has transformed political campaigns by providing advanced tools for analyzing data, predicting trends, and even creating content. Massive volumes of data may be analyzed by AI systems to predict election outcomes, better understand voter preferences, and enhance campaign strategies. One of the important aspects of AI in the 2024 elections is its role in predicting voter behavior, especially among swing voters. Voters who are unsure or receptive to persuasion are identified by AI algorithms through the analysis of demographic, economic, and behavioral data. This gives political parties the ability to target certain voter groups with their messaging and marketing efforts, which could influence election results. Also, virtual assistants and chatbots driven by AI are becoming essential to digital marketing campaigns. They take on interactive outreach, provide information about candidates and policies, and offer voters immediate support. By efficiently reaching a large number of voters, these AI-driven tools eliminate the need for substantial human resources. As social media rises to be one of the main sources of information and misinformation for the 2024 elections, so does the rise of new voters for this year. Political parties turn to social media to cater to the younger generation, a newer set of voters. Early polls and recent special elections have sparked uncertainties about voter behavior in the upcoming November election. What do young voters hold most important? What are they looking for in their next president? How will they decide knowing their future is affected by whoever wins this election? These questions have the potential to affect the decision-making practices of young voters, who to vote for or whether or not they will be voting in the first place. Young voters made a significant impact in both the 2020 and 2022 elections, with near-record participation rates. A strong edge against former President Donald Trump among young voters helped President Joe Biden win in 2020. According to Statista research, roughly 55% of eligible voters between the ages of 18 and 29 cast ballots in the 2020 election. This is a significant increase from 44% in the 2016 election. This turnout marked the highest youth participation in over 4 decades, matching the levels seen in the 1972 presidential election. For this year, as Biden and Trump prepare for a rematch in November, young voters are expected to play a pivotal role once again in the 2024 presidential election. In 2020, Biden's victory was decided by just a few votes, and as of June 11th, a poll from reputable polling aggregate, 538 shows that Biden and Trump are virtually tied. Experts note that in this election cycle, a greater number of young people are driven to vote not by party loyalty but by individual causes. Also, young voters continue to be impacted by and motivated to vote by the controversial Supreme Court ruling in June 2022 that overturned Roe v. Wade, which had protected abortion rights since 1973. However, experts note that young voters are also mobilized by a range of other issues including education costs, living expenses, climate change, and international conflicts. Moreover, many young people under 30 believe that they are inheriting a society that is becoming more dangerous, with fewer possibilities and an increasingly unfavorable atmosphere from older generations. In comparison to past generations, this younger group is more varied, and they think that increased diversity in politics, including greater representation of women, minorities, and young leaders, would be beneficial. In contrast, a majority of voters over 65 do not share the same view, having grown up in a less diverse America. Additionally, the age difference between these young voters and this year's candidates, President Biden and former President Donald Trump, often highlights a significant generational gap. Half of these young voters think Biden and Trump's ages make them disconnected from current issues. As the 2024 presidential race heats up, Americans find themselves choosing between the same candidates as in 2020, and many are not pleased. With the election just a few months away, a new Pew Research Center survey shows the race is very close. 49% of registered voters support or lean toward Donald Trump, while 48% back Joe Biden. A key feature of this race is that voters generally lack confidence in both candidates when it comes to important traits like suitability for office, personal ethics, and respect for democratic values. According to their survey conducted before Trump's hush money trial, Trump has an edge in physical and mental fitness. Over a third of voters are highly confident in his ability to handle the physical and mental demands of the presidency, 36% and 38% respectively. In comparison, far fewer voters feel the same about Biden, with only 15% confident in his physical fitness and 21% in his mental fitness. Most voters are skeptical of Biden's abilities in these areas. On the other hand, Biden is seen as more ethical, with 34% of voters very confident in his ability to act ethically in office, compared to 26% for Trump. Additionally, 38% of voters believe Biden will respect democratic values, while only 34% feel that way about Trump. When looking at which candidate has the edge, Biden and Trump traded slight polling leads throughout the primary season. As of writing this on June 25th, Forbes has published a recent compilation of the status of numerous polls across different surveys and platforms. According to Morning Consult's weekly survey, Biden and Trump are tied after Biden led for 2 weeks, following a month where Trump was ahead. A PBS Marist poll from June 18th shows them tied as well, with Trump losing 6 points among independents since May, while Biden gained 8, now leading Trump by 2 points among this group. An early June survey by the New York Times Siena shows that among the same 2,000 voters surveyed in April and May prior to Trump's conviction, Biden's advantage has climbed by 1 point while Trump's has decreased by 1. Trump still has a 47% to 46% edge over Biden despite this. Polls display that most voters do not find Trump's conviction to be very important. Lastly, a CBS YouGov poll from June 9th shows that 55% of likely voters say Trump's conviction isn't a factor in their decision, with 6 other issues, including the economy, crime, and the border, being more important by double-digit margins. Despite all this, in such a tight race, even small changes in voter sentiment could sway the outcome in November. On a different note, also in the same Pew Research Center survey earlier, about 49% of respondents who are registered to vote said they would switch out both candidates if they could, expressing their dissatisfaction with the Biden-Trump election. Approximately 62% of Biden's supporters have a strong desire to see fresh candidates, whereas only 35% of Trump backers share this opinion. Age also plays a significant role. 66% of voters under 30 want to replace both candidates, compared to 54% of those aged 30 to 49, and only 43% of voters 50 and older. As social media continues to be a staple in almost everybody's lives, it is no surprise that it has the power to affect the upcoming 2024 elections, from the spread of misinformation to the usage of AI. From presidential candidates roasting each other on Instagram to formal presidential debates, the battlefield for this upcoming election bounces back and forth between online and offline. At the end of the day, it is the responsibility of the people to be accurately informed to make a wise decision in November 2024. Thanks for watching.